some relationships may not seem important up front. They may seem like they get in the way of what you're trying to do, but it's so important to surround yourself with the people that are going to support you, that you're able to support as well. Just because other people will support you doesn't mean that you'll support them. You have to be able to support them as well on whatever their journey is. And when you can collectively work together, you can always reach your goals, no matter how long it takes. Like I said, some of these relationships I had, 20 years ago when it came to kind of putting my movie together. Those relationships were kind of the people that were part of my crew that kind of helped make this in the budget that I needed to make it in, that helped execute, in areas that I needed help to do in post-production, in actual production. Those relationships were built over the 10 years that I had my business here in Philly, my production business, and the camera guys I worked with, and the technicians I worked with, that I said, hey, here we go, here's the project. It doesn't pay what this first, what I usually do, but here's the goal, here's the plan. I want you to be a part of it. Will you come on this journey? And that's how we were able to put together something special. So no matter what it is, the people you surround yourself with, how you treat people as a leader. There's leaders and there's bosses. Bosses kind of sit up top and command down. Leaders kind of lead by example. Depending on what kind of leader, boss that you want to be, basically, you have to feel support from your team, and your team has to be feel supported by you. And dismissing people, looking at. I'm just reflecting back on what you said about kind of this generation, kind of seemingly trying to do things a little bit more isolated, and just looking at kind of my own experience and back when I first started and trying to kind of do that a little bit on my own. And I quickly had a wake-up call back in my internship days. And it's so important. It's so important to have a network of support, because you just never know when you're going to need it, or when they're going to need you, and what opportunities that's going to lead it to. You could have somebody that's part of a project early on, and if you're one of those boss leaders that your team doesn't feel like that you're supporting them as much as they're supporting you, they may go off and go to the bigger project or the bigger business or whatever it is, and need somebody that has the skills that you can offer that will give you that gateway. But that relationship, because it wasn't strong enough and it wasn't mutual back when it first happened, that door may close, and now you don't have that opportunity. So it works both ways, from the team and from the leader / boss that you're going to be.
Yeah, no, that's important for all creatives and entrepreneurs to know the ins and outs of fostering positive and also current relationships throughout the career, when you are building, especially a business or even a company, as you did, which goes even into the background of technology and equipment. I know we talked to Cosmo a lot about recruiting team members, but even because you're more on the production side and the technical side with your production company that you started, like how should a creative or even an entrepreneur that wants to be a creative go about selecting their technology and equipment? Did you, when you first started off, or even still to this day, do you outsource your equipment? Do you hand pick your equipment? Talk to people who are into the technical side of production. How do you fund your production or your technology for your projects?
So technology is probably one of the more expensive parts of accomplishing anything like this. It's where your biggest investments are going to come. It's where your biggest expenses are going to come. And it's something that you really have to carefully, kind of think through. So a lot of the advice that I give, a lot of the people that are part of my team is when you look at what you want to do, and what project that you want to accomplish. The big, shiny, cool pieces of technology always seem the first thing that you just kind of want to go grab and you want to do. You want to have the drone on set, or you want to have the dolly or anything like that. Equipment is a lot more accessible than you may think. So you need to be able to, especially when you're doing something on a smaller budget, you just need to prioritize kind of what your use is. Yes, the drone is really, really cool. It's a fun piece of equipment to use, and it's going to get a great shot. But are there ways to kind of get that shot in a different way? I had in fact, my director of photography, back when he first started working for me, he had his really cool camera, which he actually used to film the movie. And he kept just talking to me. He goes, "Oh, I want to get a jib, and I want to get this gimbal, and I want to get all this." And I said, "Dude, you only have one lens, and you have to kind of look at what you have, and you need to have the core and the foundation, kind of functional and operational, and that." And to be able to use before you get into all the things that are what I usually call eye candy. You can create a good shot with just a camera and a lens and a tripod. They did it for many, many years. I encourage anybody to go back and watch, how they made movies, in the 60s and 70s, and just take one of your DVDs or your Blu-rays or one of your digital special features and go back and watch like the making of Indiana Jones or Jaws, and just kind of see everything they went through. They made those movies with less equipment than we have now. So it's just really important that when you're looking at your equipment, that you're investing in the fundamentals that you need to accomplish what you need successfully. If once you build that core, you want good lighting, you want a good camera, and you want good lenses, and you want good audio. That's kind of on a movie standpoint, your kind of core four that you need for a successful production. Anything additional is just extra, because you can make a very, very good movie if you have those core fours. If you sit there and you just I just want this really cool shot, so I want to have the drone, and you invest in that, and you're not investing in your audio, you can have the best looking in audio or best looking film in the world. If people are going to go sit in the movie theater and you put your movie on and it sounds like a home movie, you've just lost everything that you invest, because people are like, "Yo, what is this?" So it's really important that when you're looking at technology, because there is so much of it, that if it's something that you're purchasing to own, make sure it's a core part of what you need to succeed. So in my industry, if the first thing I would invest in is a good camera. Next, the camera needs a good lens, and then I need good audio. So and then you need good lighting. So I can make a really good movie, and we pretty much made Nico with just that. We had opportunities where we wanted dollies and we wanted other things, and we were able to use a small part of the budget to rent that, for the one or two shots that we need. But for the most part, you can accomplish everything as long as you have the foundation and you use your foundation and that technology well. It's amazing how far these have come with, just the lenses, and if that's the only thing that you have available to you, the 4K on an iPhone anymore is just crazy. It's just crazy. So affordable technology is everywhere. You just want to make sure that you're not just grabbing stuff because it's cool. You want to make sure that you're able to execute your project successfully, and then when you're in a field like movie making, it's not just the production that you have to think about when you're funding all of this. We've completed filming Nico 2 years ago. It just came out 3 weeks ago. And there's a lot of stuff that happens in between. So, you got to make sure that the core of every stage of the process is being executed. We had to make sure that we had the good editing systems, that we hired the right people. Again, we're going to go back to people, because you can have all the technology in the world. If you don't have the right people to use that technology, you're not going to get the best result about it. So, we had to make sure the people that can color the movie, the people that actually edit the audio, the people that can, put together, the actual edit of the movie, everything that comes together. So, a movie that on today's scales, we spent $100,000 on, most people would be like, yo, what kind of movie is that? In classification purposes, it's a micro budget movie. But we still got picked up by a distributor, and it still got released, on Amazon, on Fandango. It's coming out on Tubi in 2 weeks, and on Peacock next year. So, the as much as all the cool stuff that you see in movies, are very easy to just kind of go and say, hey, I want to do that. I want that piece of technology. I want that piece of equipment. Make sure before you go through that, you have your foundation and you're able to use it and execute it. Or else, it doesn't matter how much technology you have. It's just not going to come out well.
Yeah, no, that's perfect when it comes to funding technology, because as you said, you could have all the bells and whistles, but if your audio is not
Yeah.
able to be heard by the audience, then you basically put together a glamorized film that you can't enjoy as a viewer or as a consumer, because they can't even hear the content.
Yeah, I mean, not every film is going to be able to, if that's the direction that you're going to, and you can even apply this to most small businesses. You're not going to not everything that you do is going to have that big investor that comes in and just gives you an open checkbook. In my industry, not every movie is going to be funded by Universal. That can bankroll something for $250 million. Some films you're going to have to scratch